Sounds like Europe. Cross-border podcasting.
Hello and welcome to Sounds Like Europe, Cross-Border Podcasting, a project brought to you by WePod. I am your host, Javi Caminero. In the last episode of this podcast, we discovered who is Iberus, the company behind that other part of WePod, that technological part that allows us to contribute to the podcasting industry in Europe by doing more than just podcasts. On that note, in this episode, I have to share with you some news that I believe will be useful for many podcasters in Europe. From March 17th to March 21st, 2025, WePod will be holding the first edition of the European Podcast Academy in Milan. And you, that are listening this right now, you can sign up. The European Podcast Academy is the first masterclass on cross-border podcasting, and it targets a wide European audience of audio professionals and journalists with a keen interest in audio production. The Academy is designed for professionals in the media field who already have a basic knowledge of audio storytelling and podcasting, and will feature a rich program of lessons and workshops. From Monday to Friday of that week, morning sessions will be dedicated to lectures on production, interview techniques, promotion, script writing, and the afternoon sessions will consist of workshops analyzing the making of, and as well the behind the scenes, of WePod's co-productions, for example, Sea of Rage. This academy is organized by Chora Media, the most important Italian podcast company, in cooperation with Prisa Audio here in Spain, the Università di Roma III in Italy, Europod in Belgium, Magyari Jet in Hungary, Outriders in Poland, News Decoder in France, Press Freedom Foundation in Serbia, and Iberus in Spain. So, as you will already know by now, your usual WePod partners. To explain to you what the European Podcast Academy is, I'm joined today by two of the masterminds of this project. Alex Ricci from Europod and coordinator of the WePod project, and Gloria Beltrami, project manager at Chora Media. Hello guys, how are you?
Hello, hi, nice to meet you. Thank you, Javi, for having us today.
Hey, thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
We already know Alex quite well. That Sounds Like Europe. I think it's the third time you have been here, Alex. So let's start with you. How is everything going?
Everything is fine. We are quite a bit into the project by now, so but things are going well. Busy with the WePod, but everything is fine.
And Gloria, you joined the WePod team a few months ago. So tell us, so that the audience can get to know you better, what's your story and how has life been since joining WePod?
Okay, thank you. Well, now I work as European project specialist, as you said, for Chora Media, and I am supporting the management of the WePod project, and this is really an amazing journey for me. Before joining the team, I worked at the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, which is based in Stockholm. And basically, it is the agency of the European Commission that helped the European community in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. So, well, to be honest, I was always interested in topics like European affairs, digital journalism, and podcasting as well. So for all this reason, at a certain point, I decided to come back to Italy and try my best to improve what I learned abroad. So now here I am doing my best, representing Chora Media and working closely with Alex on this project.
Yeah, I think the WePod project is maybe the perfect project to put all that experience into play. So guys, let's talk about this European Podcast Academy. Tell me, what's this Podcast Academy about, and what are the main goals with this academy in the WePod project?
So, as you said, the Academy is organized by Chora Media together with all the partners of the WePod project, and it will take place in Milan from the 17th to the 21st of March 2025. It will be an intensive course on making a journalistic podcast It will last 5 days because there is so much to discuss in this historical moment for podcasting, and it will have teachers who are some of the most important figures in the actual international podcast industry. As I mentioned, we aim to boost the cooperation among European audio journalists and to play also a significant role as partners in the marketplace for European cross-border collaboration. This is also the reason why the Academy won't be a course from scratch dedicated to beginners, but a chance for professionals to further develop their skills.
And what would you say, Alex, as coordinator of the whole project, that is the main goal of this academy, and how do you think an academy like this can impact the podcasting industry in Europe?
Well, the idea behind this was also to share a bit the knowledge that is developed along WePod, right? So not to just enjoy ourselves the challenges, but also the lessons learned of cross-border podcasting, but to share this with an audience of professionals. So we're not talking about an audience who loves just to listen to podcasts, but we're talking about an audience which likes to produce podcasts. And I believe it's a very important part of the project, which will also, I think, boost the excitement around the project also internally, because when you are able to share your personal experience, you don't only give, but you also get back a lot of things. And it will be a moment where we can also receive feedback from other producers. And I think it will be exciting for all the people who will participate. And I think this was the main logic behind it. But then it's obviously also a test for checking how big is there out an appetite for these kind of trainings, which are cross-border in kind, with different professors from different countries. It's, I think, a unique master course, if we can say, masterclass. I haven't seen so many similar things out there until now.
Yeah, and just personally speaking, just being part of the project, just as you said, Alex, and I'm sure Gloria will agree with this. It's great having something like this to look forward to. Like we know that on March, this project will have this huge milestone on the way, and we will make the best out of it, and we will be looking forward, that's for sure, to share with people from all over Europe our stories and our way of working through them. As I already mentioned, this academy will be held in Milan from March 17th to March 21st. But going into these podcasters that will be part of the academy, please tell us who can apply and how can people try to participate in the European Podcast Academy.
Yeah, Javi, to ensure high quality lessons, the Academy is reserved to a maximum of 50 participants. So for sure there will be a selection of all the applications done by a specific committee that represents all the partners involved in the project. And of course you can find all the information on our website, wepodproject.eu. There's a section there just dedicated to the Academy. There are just a little bit of information that we need to know from the future applicants. So we will ask you to provide a personal CV with a recent picture of you, a motivation letter, but the most important part from our perspective is a portfolio that describes 3 recent projects, but they could also be non-audio, that person is proud of, because in this way we can have a real perspective on the people that are applying to the Academy. The selection will be, as I said, it will be done by a panel of experts representing the whole consortium of newsrooms that are participating in the WePod project. And starting from the end of January, probably the 20th of January, all the candidates will be notified of the outcome of the selection process, firstly by email, and then all the results will be available on our website in the Academy section. We also have an email address that you can use every time if you have any doubts or any questions, and it is academy@wepodproject.eu. And the last thing I want to say is that, as I mentioned, we aim to create this new masterclass, this new academy for everyone that are already working in the field. And for this reason, to ensure high quality lessons, we strongly believe that it's important to provide lessons that are free of charge for all the participants, because sometimes economics could be an issue. So this is an important achievement that I want to share with you guys, because for the team, in our opinion, creating the opportunity for attending high quality lessons represents a step towards the creation of a more inclusive market of labor.
We have to note, as Gloria said, Alex said as well before, this academy won't be a course on podcasting from scratch. It's a masterclass for professionals who want to to refine their knowledge. Alex, how was this idea developed, referring this refining of skills for professionals? Was there ever an idea on doing a podcasting course from scratch, or was this the original one?
No, well, knowledge transfer activities are very important in any European project, and in our case, WePod is financed by the European Commission, by the Creative Europe program, and we know from previous experiences that it's nice to deliver content, it's nice to achieve deliverables, but part of the whole project, you also need to have knowledge transfer activities which make sure that you're not the only beneficiary eventually of the project, right? So I think it was part of a general philosophy of project writing. Then more specifically within WePod, we have one strand which is more tailored for podcasting really from scratch, or the beginnings, which are the so-called national workshops we organize, which are held in schools, so for a really young audience, and it's really an introduction to podcasting and storytelling. Yeah. And then we wanted to have also a second track which was more for professionals. And this is how the European Podcast Academy took shape. Then I must also say that a role was played by the fact that I think Chora Media already had experience in these type of activities. And so we had a perfect match between a company and a partner of the consortium which had already done these type of activities nationally in Italy. And the idea, and I think that's how it was born eventually.
The deadline to apply for the European Podcast Academy is on December the 20th, so when you are listening this episode as it comes out, you still have plenty of time. But if you're interested in participating in this academy, which I will be, to be fair, please hurry up and sign up if you want. And what will be, guys, the criteria that will be used to select the candidates?
Okay, the first one will be a territorial criterion. I mean, we will try to consider 5 of these 50 available places that I mentioned before for European journalists and podcasters. And then we will have other 45 seats that we will dedicate to people coming from all over Europe. I mean, everyone who is a European citizen and has already experience in the podcasting field, in the in the audio production field, or is a digital journalist can apply for the academy, including people from the UK. And then we will check, as I said before, the CV and the motivational letter, just to have an overview of the public interested in this project. And we are also working a lot to be the more inclusive possible. So we are also looking for a place that can be right for people with disability, inclusive and accessible in every corner. So everyone can apply, and it will be fun.
And this is a question for both of you. Can you give me some preview of what podcasters from all over Europe will be able to do and see in the European Podcast Academy? I was talking in the introduction, for example, about these workshops that will be held during the afternoons, maybe something related with the co-production between Podium and Chora, maybe with Ser Podcast and Europod. Alex, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so the idea was, as Gloria said, that the program is split up into two parts. One is morning sessions dedicated to the logical steps which are needed to create a podcast, distribute it and promote it. Obviously always in an advanced fashion with people who can talk about their professional experience. So it's not only about theory. But then in the afternoons we wanted to create really a place to discuss the lessons learned during the co-productions of WePod. And so we will have every afternoon dedicated to one of the co-productions of WePod. And as you mentioned, one which is the first one, which has a reportage-based approach, was the one between Chora Media and Podium Podcast, which is Mar de Rabbia and Mare di Rabbia, Sea of Rage, the upcoming international version. And so it's like that we will have the producers and podcasters and journalists of that co-production sharing their experience. But then we also have AI and You, which was a podcast which was actually the first one released, right, of the WePod project back in April, which is a completely different beast. So people who were involved in that co-production, which is less reportage but has more languages, for instance. And so the other ones I can't tell you because we haven't yet shared what the podcast will be, the next ones. But so I find myself a bit in a difficult position. But be assured that for each of the 5 afternoons there will be a heavy focus on the challenges and achievements of the WePod co-productions.
I was just trying to get some scoops. It wasn't possible. Okay, fair play there by Alex. Both of you guys, you have been a crucial part of the preparation, and you're still being, because we are some months away of this European Podcast Academy. As I said, this will be a huge milestone for the WePod project, and I would like to personally thank you, because I have the opportunity, because I'm talking to you right now, because I haven't seen such a big European podcast academy, such a big opportunity for podcasters from all over Europe to get together, to share some projects, and maybe to learn. And you know what happens when these kind of events take place, that maybe more WePods or more co-productions are born out of this, right?
I think that what you point out is really important, meaning that there is the academy, of course, the other lessons, but then I'd say 50% of the cool thing is that the people who will participate will have the chance to meet podcast producers and podcasters from all the other countries, and we don't know what the result of that will be, but it's truly a unique occasion for podcasters from different countries to meet other people, which in the future can indeed lead to new projects, creative influence, and who knows what. So I think this is really important that you hinted at it, and I want just to stress that whoever participates will be an integral part, an active part in making the Podcast Academy something successful.
And before we end this episode, guys, I would like to ask you a couple more questions. Just this time, we won't be talking about the Podcast Academy. I'm interested now in your listening habits. So let's start with Gloria, for example. What's your favorite podcast right now, Gloria?
This is a tough question, Javi. Probably, but I'm not sure about that. This American Life. I started listening to it when it won the Pulitzer Prize. I think it was 3 years ago, but I'm not sure about that. And I really like the immersive storytelling that they are able to build episode by episode, and it's really fascinating to me, to see also what's happening outside Europe in order to understand what can also brought here, and maybe improved. Why not?
And what about you, Alex?
Well, I mean, if I have to talk about the preferred ones, I could mention a few, which are like Today in Focus from The Guardian, but I also pretty much fancy What the Fuck by Mark Maron, which is a more comedy style podcast, conversational though. But right now, what I'm listening to is Kill List, which is from Wondery, and it's a podcast which is right now topping the US charts on Spotify at least. And it's a serial podcast about a pretty crazy story. So I'm listening to that one. I think everyone is, by the way. So.
Yeah, maybe. I had heard about this podcast. I haven't had the chance to listen to it yet, but if Alex Ricci is recommending it, maybe I have to go there. You know.
One funny thing is also that, I don't know, I was listening and then in the credits they cite Alexander Ricci, and I still have to check who that person is, but it's the first time I meet someone who's exactly has my same name.
Okay, let's invite him to the Podcast Academy. We have to make that moment happen. Where's your favorite moment to listen to podcast?
I'm thinking probably the morning. I like to have these quiet breakfast and just the podcast to go on the background. Yeah, probably this is my perfect moment. Yeah.
And Alex?
Me, it's either cooking or running. Running for the serial podcasts where I really need to listen. Cooking, conversational podcasts.
I remember when you were here, Alex, in the first episode of Sounds Like Europe. I asked you a very similar question. You answered a very similar answer. So I see you are a loyal guy.
Yes.
Alex Ricci from Europod and coordinator of the WePod project, and Gloria Beltrami, project manager at Chora Media. Thank you very much for your time and for putting together this podcast academy, because I'm sure, as I said before, we will all enjoy it a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And to everyone listening to this interview, I've been your host, Javi Caminero. I will be back, as usual, in 2 weeks with a new episode. Bye-bye.
Sounds Like Europe, Cross-Border Podcasting is a WePod podcast funded by the Creative Europe programme. Hosted and written by Javi Caminero, sound design by Manu Tomillo, coordinator Alexander Damiano Ricci, executive producer Anna Ribera. Thank you.